Welcome everyone to Canadian Yorker Live on YouTube. How's it going, everyone? Hope everyone's having a wonderful week thus far. It's a Tuesday morning. It's a wonderful day. I hope everybody's having a great morning as you're getting up. So we got a pretty extensive, um, we got an extensive um, thing to talk about today. We're going to be talking about U.S. Women's National Soccer Team, um, and also talk about some of the things that are upcoming. I know in my title, I've mentioned a number of things. We're talking about some stuff that's been going on with Trinity Rodman and against FIFA. So it's been some pretty interesting stuff going on for the most part. Um, we have a lot to talk about in this live stream for today. So that's what we're going to be doing for today. Um, and so without further ado, before I start, um, I'm going to be making sure that I have a timestamp on everything, that we making sure I timestamp everything I'm talking about in this live stream so that everybody can go back and watch things. So that way, um, things are can you guys can catch up on things, because I know when I do these extended live streams, it lasts for an hour or more. Normally it's like 30 minutes, but I've been doing extended live streams to kind of catch up with stuff. I have noticed that my views have dropped, but I think it's better. I notice it's better when I actually timestamp each part. That makes it a lot easier for everybody to really check out things, and so that's what I'm going to be doing more often in these live streams. So you guys can definitely be able to stay on top of things, because there's a lot of information that's condensed in these live streams. That's why my live streams are so long, because I'm talking a lot, and also I'm also reading these articles online. I have also clipped all of these articles in the description box for everybody to read for themselves. So definitely check it out for yourself. And it's always good to read. Reading is good for the mind. So it's also so that's why I'm doing it. But without further ado, let's just get into this article for today. We're talking about starting off with Emma Hayes, the coach of the United Women's National Team. This article is written on the Mirror.com, and it was written last month, July 1st, 2025. Emma Hayes makes honest admission about intense U.S. Women's National Team job. So going into the article, we're talking about Emma Hayes, the coach. A year on from the U.S. Women's National Team, Washington, D.C. send off ahead of the triumphant gold medal run at the Olympics in Paris, head coach Emma Hayes' side recently returned to the nation's capital ahead of Wednesday's game against Canada at Audi Field. As she approaches her 25th game in charge of the U.S. Women's National Team, Emma Hayes was asked to reflect on the past 12 months. As is often the case with the Briton, her answer was not only insightful but filled with the usual passing, which helped endear her to so many since taking on what she admitted is an intense role in May 2024. Emma Hayes told reporters, quote unquote, "It's like being a grandparent sometimes in this job. You don't have them all of the time. They come in and you give them the very best of yourself. Then you send them back to their parents, so they go back to Denise Reddy, assistant coach. And I actually wave them off like their grandparents." Emma Hayes also said, "It's almost like we know we're not going to see them all the time, but your motto is make every second count in our interactions with them, but also maximize the time we can build relationships, because sometimes it would be different with groups at different times." Emma Hayes, who previously spent 12 years with WSL Giants Chelsea, forging a dynasty in the English capital, said that she continued to pinch herself on a daily basis while on this wall, one which she called the biggest honor and perhaps even more so I thought it would be, quote unquote. She also said, quote, so often people say be careful what you wish for because your dreams don't necessarily match up with it. Yeah, they're right about that. This one's better. Quote, quote. So, we have heard from Emma Hayes. Hey, Hayes, she definitely has said, um, it's a pretty big opportunity for her to be coaching the U.S. Women's National Team. Um, and continuing the article, it says Hayes said she feels very present in her role, adding that she still feels very grateful. Quote, quote, she feels very grateful because there are unbelievable people around the team, the departments around the team, and there's an unbelievable culture around the team. Quote, quote. Looking to learn, Hayes hopes the transformative process they're currently within, as it pertains to the U.S. women's national team and women's soccer in the U.S. as a whole, is one that can leave a major mark on the game. She says, well, quote, I think the fact that we're in the middle of a transformative process to deliver not just a program for here, but I hope an impact to the global game that excuse me, that is to see through an entirely female lens is what's work not only just for me, but also for a lot of other people, she said, quote, quote, unquote. And I feel, and quote, unquote, she said, and I feel excited for our future together because it's a fun place to be. One that, as Sand Coffee reminded me this morning, you can do two things at once. You can be intense and work hard, and also have a good time. And you have to recognize the moments to do that, quote, quote. She also said, continuing, quote unquote. So for me, the players give me so much energy, and every day I show up wanting to do the best for them. Hopefully, I can keep doing that. Close quote. To date, Emma Hayes has led the U.S. Women's National Team to a 22-2 record. So 20 wins, 2 draws, 2 losses, and 2 draws record. A gold medal in Paris and a second place finish at the She Believes Cup. What's more, she has spearheaded the rejuvenation of the under U23's team as part of her larger goal of streamlining the pathway for players to grow within the U.S. soccer system en route to the senior team. Given that, given that through, given through 24 games, Emma Hayes has handed as much as many of as many players their debuts. It seems safe to say she has succeeded in expanding their player pool and opening up the senior team to fresh faces has been a success. Looking beyond the upcoming game against Canada, the U.S. Women's National Team will soon take a 4-month break before they next reconvene. In that lengthy time apart, it seems a safe bet that Emma Hayes will have earmarked yet more potential stars of the future to welcome into the mix come the next camp. So there we have it, guys, for Emma Hayes. Let's just say that she is loving her job as the U.S. Women's National Team coach. There's a lot that she can still accomplish. She's done. I'll admit it. She has done quite an amazing job as a head coach of the U.S. Women's National Team. She's definitely led them to uh, a win at the in the Olympics. They got the gold medal in the Olympics, and they were second place in the She Believes Cup because they lost to Japan. No, I think it was Brazil. Um, so yeah, I mean she is a definitely a great coach. If she continues this, she's definitely gonna have a Hall of Fame career as a coach going forward. And there's still he's had the U.S. team definitely has a lot of um, potential stars in the making. Future, the U.S. is going to be pretty set for the next few years because on the women's side of things, they have a pretty stacked depth. They got a pretty good depth and a lot of great things in the future ahead for the U.S. Women's National Team going forward. Um, so just kind of going forward here to the game against Canada and Canada's response. Um, Oh man, I hate it when this happens. I got this thing all set, and okay, there we go. So there we go. I was just trying to find that article. So here we go. So Canada's coach is it says her reactions post her she has reacted to the loss to the United States national team. You know, myself being the person and the channel that I have, I really should cover more of Canada, and I'm definitely going to do more of that in the future. But I'm covering here Canada's coach Stoney um, slams the loss to the U.S. Women's National Team and calls this loss inexcusable for this to have happened. Um, and this article was written July 2nd, 2025. In Canada and the U.S., anytime it's in any sport, the U.S. is his biggest rival is Canada. Canada's biggest rival is always the U.S. in anything when it comes to soccer. When it comes to soccer or hockey, or basketball, I would I would have to I'll be honest and say I don't necessarily think Canada is the U.S. rival when it comes to basketball, but hmm, I'd say we're probably maybe third or second on that list. But going forward, um, let's just continue there. Washington, Canada head coach Casey Stoney said her team's performance Wednesday's 3-0 loss to the United States at Audi Field was inexcusable. uh, Casey Stoney said, quote, talk is cheap. We could keep talking about winning the World Cup. We could keep talking about the things we are going to do. We can keep talking about what we're going to do, or we can actually put things into action, close quote. Of course, definitely, the loss to the United States 3-0 at Audi Field, she has every right to call out the team, call out the performance, to say that yeah, losing 3-0 to the United States is inexcusable. Um, Continuing the article, it says the U.S. Women's National Team scored all three goals from set plays: a free kick, a corner kick, and a throw-in, which forward Jordan Huitema, called disappointing and unlike us. Uh, quote, Jordan Huitema says, quote unquote, I think we looked 2 yards short on everything. Okay, Casey Stoney said, quote unquote, I think we looked 2 yards on everything. We gave the ball away too many times. I'll reflect here first. That's my job. I believe in this team, on how I set it up. I think too many individual poor performances, collectively poor. Quote, close quote. Casey Stoney said the team failed to execute its game plan, citing the number of crosses they sent into the box despite a plan that called for fewer crosses. Casey Stoney also said that she thought her team lacked commitment and desire, lost too many duels, and failed to impress the U.S. Women's National Team. Sam Coffey opened the scoring for the Americans in the 17th minute when she buried a loose ball from Rose Lavelle's free kick. The U.S. Women's National Team added a second before halftime when an unmarked Claire Hutton rose up to head in Lavelle's corner kick uncontested. Yasmin Ryan scored the Americans' third goal in the final minutes on a play that started as a throw-in for the Americans. The United States coach Emma Hayes said that her veteran players made sure we played the way we wanted to play. We didn't play another game. Casey Stoney took exceptions to her players' fitness levels and said on multiple occasions they would need to find better solutions with their clubs. Casey Stoney said, quote unquote, every single one of their players is starting every single week for their clubs. I have a problem. My players aren't. Some of them are out of season, which it showed in not playing enough minutes for their clubs. So that needs to change. That's going to be Casey Stoney also said, quote, that's going to be a strong message moving forward. Get playing or you won't get picked because we can't have that. We want to try to build toward 2027. We need to be a hell of a lot better than we were tonight. Casey Stoney and Hayes said in the preparation for the match it would be a measuring stick for them to see how their respective teams had progressed with new, less experienced players. Casey Stoney, he took fault for the result as well. He said the loss will force her to rethink plans. Casey Stoney said, quote, unquote, tonight we were miles off. It's almost like the games we had to play in prep this, for this one haven't prepared us. This is the first opponent we played, and it shows where we're at. So there we have it for the Canadian national team and the Canadian national coach, Casey Stoney, um, definitely saying that the women's, they still need preparation for 2027 for the Women's World Cup, and that's going to be held in Brazil. So there's a lot that they have to do to prepare for the World Cup going forward. And yeah, what else can be said? I mean, they have pressure. They got a lot of pressure to work on building up going forward for the Canadian national team. And the U.S. women's team is definitely they've been working together. They've been doing their thing. Um, they've been playing games. They've been winning games. They've lost a couple of games, but they're definitely getting themselves ready for the World Cup in 2027. So, in this other article here, we're looking at from the I'm trying to get that article going. The U.S. Let me just get it. The U.S. Just trying to find the article. Oh man. Here we go, guys. The U.S. women's national team gives Emma Hayes a big problem to ponder after that. Gives Emma Hayes after Canada. I'm sorry, everybody, for the terrible, terrible things that I have here. Um, so in this article here, the U.S. women's national team gives Emma Hayes. Today, the U.S. women's national team encountered a problem, even though they routed Canada and they were doing really well. They routed Canada, but they have a problem on their hands. So Emma Hayes has recognized the problem that is there. And this article was written July 3rd, 2025. We're going to get into it. On a warm Wednesday night in Washington, the U.S. women's national team welcomed Canada to a sold-out Audi Field for the final final friendly of the international window. The Stars and Stripes had already beaten Ireland twice, winning 4-0 in both matches. They wanted to finish this with a sweep, but to do that, they had to defeat one of their main rivals. The U.S. women's national team just did just that, defeating Canada 3-0. And even while their performance did not quite live up to the standard of those Ireland games, they had substantially outplayed Canada and had numerous superb attacking sequences. Two of the Stars and Stripes 3 goals were from set pieces. Sam Coffey scored the opener in the 17th minute. The second came from Claire Hutton, who joined the 3 other players who scored their first international goals during this window when she headed Roses Lavelle's beautiful corner kick downward off the turf before it bounded across the line. Similar to the Ireland games, the U.S. women's national team continuously attacked with ferocity from all angles and through many different players. There were many opportunities at a third, including Lynn Biondolo's fantastic late effort. The third came through substitute Yasmin Ryan, who slotted home the dagger in the 89th minute. So what is Emma Hayes' big problem? After all 3 matches, it is clear Emma Hayes has a good problem on her hands, and that is player selection. At the moment, the U.S. women's national team doesn't have established starters at most positions because so many players have most of their chances under the English manager. So how will she handle it? Will a rotation be a common theme? Does she have too many options? Of course, the answer to the last question is no. It is never a bad thing to have multiple options, especially when they can compete at a higher level, given the unpredictability of form and injuries. If players can choose from 3 or more players in every position, and each player can compete against the top players from other top countries, then she can breathe easily. That is the hope of every national team. Whether the U.S. women's national team has that already is yet to be seen, but it feels like where this team is heading, another potentially related issue could be not only figuring out her best um, 9 by merit, but also what players, best 11 by merit, or what players play the best together. So far though, each lineup put out in the games during this window worked well. No evident chemistry issues. Needless to say, what happens when the European-based players are back remains a question. Then there are some U.S. women's national team players out due to injury. Nevertheless, this is a good problem to have, and Hayes can ponder throughout the summer. So there we have it. That's the problem that the U.S. women's national team is having at the moment. Um, the problem of selecting the roster, I believe, the soccer, you know, the the when you have soccer teams, you're supposed to have 11 players on the field for each team. So the U.S. women's national team needs to have 11 players, or at least 24 players that they can have that can substitute in and out of the game. So that's important. And not only that, but they also need the chemistry as well, because the players need to get along, need to play well together. If they don't, they will have problems. So the chemistry and the team roster is important, because they need to have it ready for the World Cup that's going to be occurring in 2027 next year. So I believe they're getting out the friendlies, getting the friendlies done. They're going to be facing real competition. They're going to be competing for the they're going to be competing to get into the World Cup. So they have a busy schedule ahead of them. Um, that's for sure. And I'm definitely going to be covering more about what's later on in this live stream of what they're going to be doing with the roster going forward. So if you guys are just joining for the first time, don't be afraid to subscribe to Canadian Yorker on YouTube here, and also give to give. I want to see some likes. Definitely would love to see some likes on this live stream for today. That'd be great. If we can get to 100 likes, it'd be great. So don't be afraid to hit the like button and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Because on here we talk about. I like to talk about soccer on here, and a lot of people don't really talk about soccer. But I'm one of the YouTubers on YouTube that does do that. I talk about football news, soccer news. I talk about American football, basketball, and some other topics as well. If you follow me on this channel. Um, but for the most part, don't be afraid to do that. If you're new, and don't be afraid to subscribe and hit the like button. But let's continue going forward here. As we're talking about the U.S. Women's National Team, and kind of mixing it up here. I believe we're moving on to the next part here, and we are talking about Trinity Rodman, right? So Trinity Rodman has been undergoing some drama. Uh, Trinity Rodman has been undergoing some. She's been in the news. I know I've spoken with her. I've talked about her situation, um, with about who she is, and um, about a situation that happened. Because she went to the Wimbledon, the men's Wimbledon. This is kind of a blend of soccer news and also, tennis news at the same time. I don't talk about tennis. I'm not a big fan of tennis. Um, I don't really, like to talk about it. It's not my type of sport. This would be something along the lines of my good friend Boone Steele, who would talk more about that, about tennis, because he actually plays tennis, and he watches Wimbledon and the Australian Open and stuff. Um, but for myself, I'm not really a big tennis person. But since I'm covering the soccer news, I have noticed that Trinity Rodman, noticed it, what's, what's going on with her. She, again, is upset about the situation with her. She and her father, Dennis Rodman, who's an NBA basketball player and NBA Hall of Famer, they don't have a very good relationship because Dennis Rodman, when he was, let's say when he was younger, did not was not the best father to her. So she has a lot of, she doesn't want to really be associated with Dennis Rodman. So Trinity Rodman, when she went to the Wimbledon Open, um, was really upset with the commentators, the broadcasters who mentioned Dennis Rodman, the name of Dennis Rodman, to to people there. And Trinity Rodman obviously is not happy with being mentioned with the Dennis Rodman being mentioned there, because it kind of you know brought down the house, I guess, for her, because she was there just to support her boyfriend Ben, who's also Ben Shelton, I think his name is. He's a tennis player. He's a professional pro tennis player, and he competes in Wimbledon and the Australian Open and stuff. So there's been some drama that happened that has occurred, and it's just been spilled out in the news. Of course, Dennis Rodman cannot escape any of this, neither can Trinity Rodman, because they're public people, and that's the way it is. I guess you can't really escape that. So let's get into the article here. There's an article here that covers this news here, where it talks about how Trinity Rodman has responded to the, she calls it disrespect. Um, so I'm trying to get into this article here, and it says here Trinity Rodman blasts Wimbledon coverage for relentless disrespect. And I'm trying to get the correct article because let's see, because this is kind of what started the situation. Trinity Rodman blasts. So there we go. There we go. Perfect. So here it is, the article here. This article was on. This article is on underthelaces.com, and it was written June 7th, 2025. Continuing, so this is going to get into the article here. As Ben Shelton continues his Wimbledon journey, fans have gotten to see more of his relationship with the United States women's national soccer team and Washington Spirit star Trinity Rodman. The two have been together since March, or at least their relationship has been public since then, and fans have loved watching Rodman support her boyfriend during Wimbledon. Something that hasn't been fun to witness is the Wimbledon announcers completely disrespecting Trinity Rodman. First, by calling her by the wrong name, and second, by mentioning her father, Dennis Rodman, who she has an estranged relationship with, and has been pretty vocal about that being the case. Trinity Rodman blasted the Wimbledon announcers on her Instagram story Monday, noting, "For those that don't, for those who don't know, my name is Trinity, not Tiffany," with a crying and laughing emoji, and then pivoted to the subject of her father. Also, for Ben's matches, he has his family there as his support system, which includes his dad. My dad's not even in my life, so no need for him to bring him up during his matches when I don't even want him talked about during mine. It's him and his loved ones moment. Close quote. Thank you, she said, close quote. And that's with a thumbs up emoji. Um, Trinity Rodman has the right to be upset with the coverage. At least the broadcasters could do is call her by her correct name, which they failed to do. It's also a low-hanging fruit to continue to tie in Dennis Rodman whenever Trinity Rodman is on screen, because anyone who follows her closely should know that she has a fractured relationship with the former NBA star. Well, appearing on the Call Her Daddy podcast with Alice Cooper earlier this year, Trinity Rodman spoke about her relationship with her estranged father and said, "He's not a dad, maybe not by blood, but nothing else." At this point, she made it clear that she doesn't want him to continue to be referenced, not only when she's playing with the Washington Spirit, but especially not when her boyfriend is playing in Wimbledon. There's no reason to bring up Dennis Rodman in that situation. So there we have it. Oh, yes, yes. So there we have it. Um, oh, one more thing. Trinity Rodman was the second overall pick in the 2021 NWSL draft by the Spirit, and she spent the entirety of her pro career there after helping the Spirit win a title as a rookie. She also won the gold medal with the United States women's national team in 2024 Olympics. Um, so I've already covered that in the past videos. Um, but in this situation with Trinity Rodman, this kind of escalates because um, you know the media kind of make it more bigger than it is. And just continuing here on thesun.com, this article is written June 7th, 2025. Wimbledon TV viewers spot blood red marks on Ben Shelton during a 16 class against Lorenzo Sanigo. Continuing here, the tennis fans couldn't help but notice large red marks on the arm of Ben Shelton. The American wore his trademark tank top for the Wimbledon class with Lorenzo Sanigo. Those are the red marks on him right there on his shoulder. Continuing here, it says, and fans watching the action were distracted by the patches on his body. Ben Shelton, 22, have noticeable large red marks on his left shoulder. They were seen again in his quarterfinal clash with Janet Sinner on Wednesday. The number 10 seed rank takes incredible care of his body, so he's ranked number 10 in the world. And one of the methods he uses is cupping therapy. It involves suction to draw fluid into the area but can leave marks like ones on Shelton's arm. The marks are due to broken blood vessels beneath the skin and can look like a bruise. One viewer said Shelton with suction marks on his body. He's about to release the dragon. Ben Shelton played Francis TFO in an All-American class at the Grand Slam. One of those circles on Shelton's arm, a rash or ash, one said one red ash. Another suggested, quote unquote, Ben Shelton hasn't been doing cupping on his arms and upper arms. Ben Shelton beat Italian player Sonigo in 4 sets on number 1 court to book a place in the quarterfinals against Janet Sinner, the number 1 team star Trinity Rodman. The soccer player is also the daughter of Rodman. She supported Shelton from the players' box on Monday. Trinity Rodman looked glamorous in a two-piece blue outfit while her partner started on the court. So there we have it in this article here talking about Ben Shelton, and they notice that he has marks on his arms, of course. Those are just cupping marks from cupping therapy, which is a thing in apparently. Um, so, like I said, guys, there's a lot going on, with the situation. Um, so, in this next article here, so we're still talking about Trinity Rodman here because this story is not over, apparently. So, I just need to get the right thing here. Let's see here. Shelton's girlfriend catches him going crazy over a meal. Oh yes, I need to get it right here. So apparently, he beat. Oh, there we go. Last. Okay, there we go, guys. So I don't want to raise uncertainty. Okay, so it says Ben's girlfriend Trinity Rodman captures him going crazy over his meal after beating Francis Tiafoe at the DC Open. I can't even say the name right there. So it says Ben Shelton's hunger for victory at the um, Mubadawa City DC Open was matched only by his actual hunger after defeating Francis Tiafoe. His girlfriend Trinity Rodman made sure everyone knew about both appetites. capturing the tennis star in a moment that perfectly summed up his quarterfinal triumph. So he beat Francis Tiafoe. Ben Shelton advances to the Mabdala City Open semifinals. Ben Shelton rose to the occasion and surged into the semifinals of the City DC Open. The American defeated Mackenzie McDonald and Gabriel Diallo to make the quarterfinals, where he faced compatriot Francis Tiafoe. Despite some assistance, Shelton secured a 7-6, 6-4 win on Friday to advance to the Final Four. The victory carried extra significance for Shelton's career trajectory. By reaching the quarterfinals, he had already secured a career-high ranking of world number 7. Now, with his semifinal berth, Shelton has advanced to his 11th semifinal tour. Notably, it's also his second straight semifinal appearance in Washington, D.C. After the match, his girlfriend, Trinity Rodman, posted a photo of him showing hungrily jiggling into his post-match meal. This image perfectly captured Shelton's appetite after his grueling quarterfinal battle. So that's pretty. I mean, these guys train like crazy, so of course you're gonna have crazy appetites. Um, Going forward, so Trinity Rodman, daughter of NBA legend Dennis Rodman, often shares glimpses of her moments with Shelton on social media and frequently celebrates his achievements. The 23-year-old also celebrated Shelton's second-round victory at the ATP 500 in Washington. Rumors of Ben Shelton and Trinity Rodman's relationship has been simmering until the two confirmed them early in March. The U.S. women's national soccer team star has been a constant presence at her boyfriend's matches, as seen earlier at Wimbledon. Oh man, internet, and how frustrating can it be? So, as I was reading before I got rudely interrupted, um, yes, I've seen that earlier at Wimbledon, continuing, and again this week at the Rock Creek Park Tennis Center in Washington. Uh, Francis Tiafoe gave a tough fight on Friday, making the victory even sweeter. Ben Shelton was broken to a love at 5-5 in the opening set, giving the victory, the chance to serve for it. However, Shelton mounted a strong comeback, forcing a tight break and eventually sealing the set with his powerful forehand. After the match, Ben Shelton reflected on his history with Francis Tiafoe, acknowledging their multiple encounters and expressing genuine respect for his opponent. Despite their competitive rivalry, Ben Shelton's comments revealed the mutual admiration between the two Americans. Um, Ben Shelton said, quote unquote, "We know tennis is a long journey. We're going to play each other a bunch of times, especially we've already played on the hard courts. We've played twice at the US Open, and he beat me in the most recent time. It's tough to not cheer for a guy like that." Ben Shelton spoke about his rivalry with Tiafoe after the match. With Friday's victory, Ben Shelton now holds a comfortable 3-1 head-to-head advantage over Tiafoe. He will next face Spain's Alejandro David Davidovich Fokina in the semifinals, carrying both momentum and apparently a healthy appetite into the next round. So I'm not sure how well Ben Shelton did in the U.S. At this match here at the DC Open, but I'm sure he had major success. He made it to the semifinals. Um, I don't quite know what the situation with what happened with that going forward was going after, because I don't cover tennis, like I said. So, but there was some extra drama that happened, despite the fact that Trinity Rodman and Ben Shelton have to deal with. So obviously Trinity Rodman is not going to let the drama that's surrounding her affect Ben Shelton. So, because that would be messed up. So it says here, we already covered this before in the BET. Trinity Rodman slammed Wimbledon commentators for calling her the wrong name, bringing up the dad. Um, Again, we have definitely already covered this. So I'm just gonna skip this here from BET. I think I already posted it in the description box. Um, but in this next article here, um, Dennis Rodman has responded to what is going on, and also he's also talked about what he's doing currently to try to repair his relationship with his children. Um, he wasn't the best dad growing up, when he was younger because the man wanted to party. He had a lot of wild, crazy parties. We know his story. We know his situation. And, him growing up, he didn't really have a father growing up when he was younger. So there's a lot that he has to learn and grow up. And so in this article here, this is on July 17th, 2025. Um, Going forward, it says here, I want to know what they felt like all these years. Dennis Rodman admits he's been trying to repair his relationship with his kids. Um, Dennis Rodman, quote unquote, said, I want to know what they felt like all these years. Dennis Rodman admits he's been trying to repair his relationship with his kids. Originally appeared on Basketball Network. For most of his life, Dennis Rodman has been known for his flamboyant presence and um, um, in his and larger than life celebrity than for the quiet responsibilities of fatherhood. But now decades removed from his prime and long past the dyed-haired Rodman who used to crash the boards at the United Center or wrestle with Hulk Hogan on WCW, he is confronting something much heavier than fame or stats. Um, the Hall of Famer admitted he's trying to bring all of his children together to finally start the long overdue conversation of what fatherhood truly meant to them. Um, Dennis Rodman said, quote unquote, I'm going to have a relationship with my kids that's coming soon. I just felt I got to get them together. I just wanted to hear it because I want to know what they felt like all these years. Um, Rodman is a father of four, although his relationship with his children has often been distant. Um, his eldest, Alexis, was born in 1988 when Rodman was largely absent, caught up in the demands of his NBA career and a chaotic lifestyle. He has a son named Chase, born in the late 1990s, to a woman he never married from his third marriage. He has two more children, DJ, born in 2001, who plays college basketball at Washington State, and Trinity Rodman, born in 2002, who plays professional soccer for the Washington Spirit. Um, Dennis Rodman's second marriage, briefly and infamously, was to Carmen Electra in 1998 following a drunken night in Las Vegas. Despite the fame and eccentricity, he has publicly expressed regret over his shortcomings as a father. During his 2011 Basketball Hall of Fame induction speech with all four of his children present, Dennis Rodman issued a heartfelt apology for not being more present in their lives. That said, reconciliation won't come easily for the Hall of Famer. Uh, his daughter Trinity Rodman laid bare the pain of growing up without him in a brutally honest 2024 interview that said Rodman was not his dad, maybe by blood, but nothing else. She went on to explain how his absence, fueled by a lifestyle of substance abuse and instability, left her and her mother struggling to survive. The contrast is sharp. Trinity Rodman, just 23, has already built her own legacy in American sports. In 2021, she became the youngest ever player ever drafted in the NWSL history and has since earned accolades, endorsement deals, and national team call-ups. She did all this while carrying the silence of her father's absence, a silence that often spoke louder than any Rodman headline. Uh, when Trinity's words spread, Dennis responded not only with defensiveness but a moment of rare vulnerability. In a Instagram statement, he apologized, saying that he was sorry that he wasn't the father they wanted. He always tried. It was the kind of acknowledgement that had been missing for years. Still, in a world where apologies don't heal decades of absence, It was more of a starting point than a resolution. Rodman's life has long been defined by contradiction. A five-time NBA championship as a champion with the Chicago Bulls and Detroit Pistons, he built a Hall of Fame career off rebounds, defense, and tenacity. He led the NBA in rebounding for 7 consecutive seasons from 1991 to 1998 and has been named Defensive Player of the Year twice. Yet while he was unshakable off the court, his personal life, again, the page is refreshing, frustrating. There we go. I hate it when we have just these things. It just happens. It just cuts you off. It really messes you up. Um, yeah, so I was going to continue. Yet while he was unshakable on the court, his personal life spiraled with dizzying unpredictability, broken relationships, arrests, stints in rehab, and infamous trips to North Korea. Throughout the chaos, the father figure is absent physically, emotionally, and often willfully. His son Dennis Jr. Has largely kept his distance from the media when it comes to their relationship. Alexis, his oldest from a previous relationship, has stayed almost entirely out of the public eye. The fragments are scattered, but Dennis Rodman seems to be pushing, even if belatedly, for closure. The desire to gather his children is an attempt to take responsibility for the narrative that has so long escaped his control. And perhaps for the first time in his life, he seems ready to listen. Um, so Dennis Rodman, man, I mean, he has. Whoa, hold on a second. Hold on a second. Dennis Rodman wants Kim Jong Un to come to America. That would be completely wild if that happens, guys. Nah, I'm sorry. We gotta look at this. Hold on a second. Um, I can't. I can't. This kind of just threw me off here. This threw me off. But hold on. Look, Dennis Rodman has told some outrageous stories over the years, but his latest revelation might top them all. Appearing on Neon's live stream, the Hall of Famer claimed that North Korean Kim Jong Un actually wants to come to America. Um, Kim Jong Un. Okay. Continuing, Dennis Rodman said, "Oh my God, I'm always asked about that. What the hell, man? You guys cool to me, right? But you know what? What I've always said to everybody in the world. I said, guess what? If that guy came over here to America, he really wants to come here, man. I said, great. I went up to his palace. I went to his island. I went to his ski resort. I went to every place in North Korea. Hey, man, the guy's cool to me. It's that kind of statement only Dennis Rodman could make with a straight face. The eccentric five-time NBA champion has maintained one of the strangest relationships in sports and political history ever since visiting North Korea in 2023. What started as a basketball exhibition trip eventually turned into a personal bond with Kim, a self-professed Chicago Bulls fan who had married the Jordan-era dynasty. According to Rodman, the admiration shifted to him once Jordan reportedly declined an invitation to visit the country. From there, Dennis Rodman became a recurring guest of the exclusive leader, visiting his estates, private islands, and ski resorts, even riding in his helicopters and being chauffeured around the capital. Dennis Rodman has said before that his relationship with Kim gave him insight into the leader that few outside, let alone Americans, have ever had. In 2023, Dennis Rodman described how Kim threw him a stadium-sized party with 140,000 people in attendance, personally leading applause for his guests. The latest comment about Kim wanting to come to America adds a new twist to the saga, especially considering the geopolitical tensions that have defined the U.S. North Korean relations for decades. In 2018, Kim did step into the international stage with a historic meeting with then President Donald Trump in Singapore and later Vietnam. Although talks ultimately fizzled, they showed Kim's willingness to at least explore international diplomacy. With Trump got back in power, Dennis Rodman's remark about Kim wanting to visit the United States feels wild, but in today's unpredictable political climate, not entirely impossible. Still, given North Korea's track record, such a scenario remains highly unlikely. Dennis Rodman's friendship with Kim has often drawn controversy. While some dismissed this as nothing more than a publicity stunt, others had suggested Rodman has provided rare and formal communication between the two countries. Rodman himself has always brushed off such criticism, insisting that his bond with Kim is not personal, not political. For now, Kim Jong-un remains in Pyongyang and Rodman remains in one of his unusual globe advocates. Whether Kim Jong-un ever sits foot in America is another story, but thanks to Dennis Rodman, the possibility has been floated in the strangest forums, a late-night live stream with a Twitch personality. I totally agree with that article. That is very strange indeed. Um, that completely threw me off. What do you know? Like, the world is such a strange place, but this is a friend from talking about Dennis Rodman's relationship with his kids to talking about Dennis Rodman wanting to get his get Kim Jong Un wanting to visit the United States. What the this is what the heck, man? Such a weird, 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 very weird. Um, let's just continue with what we're talking about here about soccer. Um, continuing here. Um, so I'm gonna wrap up the story right here. We're gonna wrap up with the situation with Trinity Rodman, of course. Trinity Rodman and goes to Cincinnati. So Trinity Rodman. So Trinity Rodman, um, again, went to show her support to the boyfriend Ben Shelton. No, that's not the article I want. So she was there for the at the plastic thing. Trinity. I apologize, guys. Frustrating. My nose is not actually. My nose is stuffy today. I have a stuffy nose. Um, I have a lot that I have going on just this morning. Um, so continuing here, this is not what I want. This is not what I want. I want the article that I was looking at. There we go. That is what we want. That is it. That is it. So I said, I don't want Facebook. I want what I was looking for. There we go. There we go. So there we have it, guys. There we have it. My apologies. Trying to find the correct article. Continuing here. We're just gonna wrap this up here with Trinity Rodman showing up at the Cincinnati Open. Um, so in this article here, it's on August 10th, 2025. So that was like last week. Continuing here, Ben Shelton's girlfriend Trinity Rodman shows up in Cincinnati to support in person after failing to attend to Toronto Open fresh off his breakthrough win at the Canadian Open, Ben Shelton returned to the court in Cincinnati to continue his momentum. Despite his success, Ben Shelton was missing a familiar face in Toronto. His girlfriend, USWNT national star Trinity Rodman, she was unable to attend due to scheduling conflicts and the strict tournament rules. But as he took to the hard courts in Cincinnati, Trinity Rodman was back in the stands, cheering him on with enthusiasm. The presence underscored the close bond they share and highlighted the role of personal support in an athlete's journey. How did Trinity Rodman support Ben Shelton in Cincinnati? After watching Ben Shelton celebrate his first big ATP Masters 1000 title in Toronto from afar, Trinity Rodman was determined not to miss his next matches. On Sundays, he was spotted in the stands at the Lidner family tennis court in Cincinnati, filming and cheering with Shelton as he faced tough competition. Um, Photos and videos shared on social media captured Rodman's leaning forward in his sheet, phone raised to record his serves and volleys. Her energy was palpable, drawing smiles from fans around her and giving Shelton an extra boost of confidence on the court. Um, Trinity Rodman's attendance in Cincinnati followed her emotional outpouring on social media after Shelton's Toronto win. She filmed herself jumping and dancing in celebration, sending the heartfelt message of pride when she couldn't be there in person. Um, Trinity Rodman's attendance in Cincinnati followed her emotional outpouring. Oh yeah, yeah. Shelton's week in Toronto was unforgettable. In the tour final, he beat Russia's Karen Khachanov, 6'7", 6'4", 7'6", became his first Masters 1000 title and rise to a career high. Wrote number 6 in the post-match comments. Ben Shelton spoke of keeping his focus on the progress rather than on celebrations, describing how quickly he had to switch his mindset to prepare for Cincinnati. Just 48 hours later, he was on the hard court of the Cincinnati Open. As a fifth seed, he received a bye in the first round, advancing automatically to the second round in his opening match. Argentine Camilo Hugo Carabelli retired with a knee injury while trailing 6-3, 3-1. Ben Shelton moved through in less than an hour, showing concern for his opponent's well-being. He is now set to face Roberto Bautista Agut as his next opponent in the round of 32 on August 12th. The quick turnaround between tournaments highlights the demanding nature of the professional tennis circuit. Ben Shelton's stretch for Toronto Cincinnati shows the challenges of back-to-back tournaments. He had to balance recovery from maintaining form while adapting to new courts and conditions. Having Rodman's support in the stands provided the personal connection that was missing during his breakthrough moment in Toronto. So there you have it, guys, for Ben Shelton and Trinity Rodman. I'm just going to end this saga of Trinity Rodman. Enough of the talk on what's going on with them, let them live their lives, and I wish Ben Shelton all the best going forward. He's making waves. I think the U.S. Open, going to be starting maybe, I don't know actually when the U.S. Open starts, but whenever that starts, I wish uh, Ben Shelton will have the best in his tennis career. I'm not really a big tennis guy, like I said. Um, this whole soccer and tennis thing has overlaps for some reason because Trinity Rodman is dating a tennis star, and Trinity Rodman herself is a well-known um, soccer soccer player, female soccer player. She's one of the best out there. So we're just gonna kind of go forward here. I'm gonna just move on to the next thing here. Um, so I'm covering the U.S. Not the U.S. I'm talking about the English national team. So we're kind of skipping to a different continent, moving forward to um, the English national women's team, and they played against Spain, and they played in the Euro Cup. So if any of you don't know, the Euro Cup is a big thing in Europe. All the big European teams play against each other. Spain, France, the females and the males play. So in this in this article here, we're going to be talking about the English national women's team and what they've been doing. Um, so it says here, Euro 2025 semi-final recap as England and Spain prepare for a fight for glory. Um, it says here, the UEFA Women's Euro 2025 semi-final was delivered while the drama, determination, and dazzling football fans could hope for, setting the stage for a blockbuster final between reigning champions England and the World Cup holders Spain. The Lionesses will be hoping for redemption against Spain following their wounding 1-0 defeat in the 2023 World Cup final. Um, Now, remember, I think the Spanish won the 2023 World Cup, if I'm not mistaken. They did win that, and they did beat England in in that they beat Italy in that World Cup. Serena Wakeman is also just one match away from winning 3 consecutive Euro titles, having guided the Netherlands to the trophy in 2017 prior to England's triumph in 2022. Let's recap how the semi-final action unfolded to pit England and Spain against each other for the glory. England beat Italy 2-1 in a heart-stopping encounter in Geneva. England staged a stunning comeback to book their place in the final. Italy looked set to pull off a shock against the champions as they took the lead in the 33rd minute. Barbara Bonanzi fired a brilliant shot into the top of England's net to give Les Azurs the lead. The goal stunned England, who found it difficult to break through a well-drilled Italian backline, although Lauren Hemp and Alessia Russo both had efforts saved. England struggled to find the rhythm against the resolute Italian side, who were staring down the barrel of a semi-final exit as the clock ticked to the stoppage time. But Michelle Aguirre-Mang, brought on as a late substitute, became the Lionesses' hero once again. She scored a dramatic equalizer in the 96th minute to force extra time, once again coming up clutch for England in this tournament. In the 119th minute, Beth Mead drove into the box and was brought down, earning England a crucial penalty. Chloe Kelly, England's Euro 2020 final heroine, once again stepped up. Her first effort was saved, but she kept composure and slotted the rebound into the net to send England to their second consecutive European final. Wickman's substitutions made all the difference and turned the game on its head. It was testament to the squad's depth and managers' tactical awareness. Um, Now, I was going to talk about this um, in this live stream, but about Germany facing Spain. But this article is already covering it. In Zurich, Spain booked their place to their first ever Euros final with a hard-fought 1-0 extra time win over the 8-time champions Germany. It was a massive fine margins with both sides struggling to break each other's down over 90 minutes. Both sides had their chances with goalkeepers Katakol and Anna Katrin Berger being called into action, both showing their unbeatable form. Both keepers made strings of crucial saves, keeping their sides in the game as the nerves frayed on both benches. Surprisingly, the game reached the end of stoppage time at 0-0, forcing the game into extra time. In the 113th minute, popped up Etienne Bonmati, the reigning Ballon d'Or winner, produced a moment of magic, hurling a powerful effort into the far corner. The goal was the only one of the match and sealed his Spain's historic victory and confirmed their status as one of the most dominant forces in world football. After the match, Mamadi said, "I feel so proud. We deserve this. Today, I feel like we wrote history again. We dreamed of this moment. This team keeps making history. Now we want to lift the trophy." And Euros final for the ages. The final is set for Sunday, July 27th at St. Jacob Park in Brazil. It will be a battle between two football giants. England, seeking to defend a European crown, will face a Spanish side still brimming with confidence after the World Cup triumph in 2023. Both sides toast tactical brilliance, individual flair, and relentless determination. For England, the key will be maintaining their resilience and making the most of clutch players like Kelly and Aguirre-Mang. Meanwhile, Spain will look to control possession and allow stars like Bonmati and Claudio Pina to shine through. Whatever the outcome, one thing is certain: England's women's football continues to soar to new heights, and Sunday's promises to be another unforgettable chapter. Um, so there we have it, guys. So England's facing against Spain in the final for the cup. So, and I actually looked up the article here. So in this cup, it's England actually retains the championship against Spain. The Women's Euro Final, 2025 final. England stunned Spain in penalties to earn second straight Euro title. Um, so England actually beat Spain and in this game. So it says England came into Sunday's UEFA Euro 2025 final looking for revenge and got it. 2 years after losing to Spain in the 2023 FIFA Women's World Cup, the Lionesses defeated Spain in penalties, um, 3-1 to home, um, take back-to-back titles. The score was tied 1-1, but they beat them in penalties 3-1. English keeper Hannah Hampton notched two outstanding saves to tee up the victory. Chloe Kelly's decisive penalty kick completed the Lionesses' title defense. In frantic, excited game, the two European powerhouses battled to control the pace. Spain struck first with a stunning sequence in the 25th minute, extending with a masterful header from Mariana Caldente. La Roja's tactical strength was on display in this game as the Spaniards kept the ball moving through English defense. England, who spent the entire tournament coming from behind, kept up the pressure in the second half. The Lionesses were rewarded with a goal in the 57th minute as Alessa Russo's thorough header sent the ball into the corner of the goal. The score held, sending the game into extra time, and in the end it came down to penalty kicks. Though an early miss from Beth Mead, who had to take a penalty after slipping, threatened to ruin England's chances. Um, Hampton recorded key saves against Caldente and reigning Yolanda or Atana Bonmati. Ryan Charles, who subbed into the game and stopped the stand, and Alex Greenwood scored the other penalties for England before Kelly brought it home. England has had an incredible luck and grit in this tournament, coming from behind in all three knockout stage games and eventually win in extra time. Sunday was the team's second penalty shootout in 2025 Euros, and once again England emerged victorious. The Lionesses put their bodies on the line for this one. Lucy Bond's key piece of England's Euro run went down multiple times Sunday with a thigh injury that had seemed to bother her for multiple games. Post-game, Bronze revealed to BBC she had played the entire tournament with a fractured tibia, a sacrifice that is very on brand for the tough veteran defender. No matter the consequences, the sacrifices paid off. 3 years after taking England's first major title home in 50 years, men and women, the Lionesses have done it again. So there we have it for in the Euro 2025. I know we don't really follow the in America. We don't really follow the Euro 2025 in soccer, but it's a big win for England. I mean, England hasn't won the Euro 2025 in such a long time, and they have never won a World Cup in a while. I mean, it's about time they win the World Cup, and they got to get the revenge against the Spain if they ever face them in the World Cup in 2027. I hope to see that happen. Um, so not only did that happen, but there was some unfortunate situation that happened. In, during the match, England's Jess Carter was subject to racist abuse in at the Euro 2025. Um, so racism is a problem in soccer, as it is in any other sport, and it's quite interesting that FIFA has been fighting this thing for a while. FIFA has been standing up to racism in in in, in soccer. Um, but I just want to point this out. I just want to make sure that you know this is it's not tolerated. It should not be tolerated. Period. But one of the things I'm just bringing this article to you because there are some additional other things that I'm going to be talking about here. Um, but English Jess Carter. Let's just get into what happened to her in the year 2025 here. So it says here. By the way, this article was written July 20th, 2025, last month. England defender Jess Carter has said in a statement that she has been subjected to racial abuse during Euro 2025 as a result, she will be stepping back from social media for the rest of the tournament, which is very smart for her because they won the tournament, so that's great. She just stepped away from the social media. Um, Continuing here, it says the Lionesses have also announced that as a group they support their teammate and will no longer take the knee before matches, as it is clear that we in football need to find another way to tackle racism. they've been kneeling. They've been kneeling. It's good that they're not taking a knee. And Football Association CEO Mark Willingham has said that the FA has contacted the UK police to ensure that those responsible for this hate crime are brought to justice. Um, Jess Carter started all four of England's matches at the Euro 2025 and was a key part of the squad at both Euro 2022 and the World Cup in 2023. But since the start of the tournament, she has been subject to racist abuse on her social media platforms. Jess Carter put out a statement on her Instagram account on Sunday, and she said, quote, unquote, from the start of the tournament, I have experienced a lot of racial abuse, she wrote. Worse, I feel for every fan that is entitled to their opinion on performance. I don't believe think it's okay to target someone's appearance or race. As a result of this, I will be taking a step back from social media and leaving it to a team to deal with. And she also says, quote unquote, as I am grateful for all the support from the genuine fans, but I am taking this measure to protect myself in a bid to keep my focus on helping the team any way I can. Hopefully speaking out will make the people writing this abuse think twice so that others won't have to deal with it. And also, she says, continuing, we have made some historic changes with this line as a squad that I am proud to be part of. And my hope is that by speaking out about this, it will make another positive change for all. I'm now looking forward to it and focusing on putting all of my energy into helping the team, quote unquote. The UK and UEFA Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer were among those who offered support for Carter. In a post on social media, Starmer said, quote unquote, there is no place for racism in football or anywhere in society. I stand with just Lionesses and any players who have suffered racism and often on the pitch. FIFA President Gianni Infantino said he was deeply saddened by the abuse directed in a post on social media. Quote, Gianni Infantino said, quote unquote, there is no place for racism in football or society. He added, we stand with Jess, we stand with every player and every individual who has suffered from racist abuse. No player should be discriminated against in any way. They should be free to be at their very best on the pitch. The Lionesses had been taking me before matches and united anti-racism message. But when they played Italy in the Euro 2025 semi-final on Tuesday, they will stand as a group instead. We stand with Justin and all Lionesses players, past and present, who have suffered racism. They said as a group, no one should have to endure such vile abuse, be that in football or in any walk of life. Representing our country is our greatest honor. Um, it is not the right that while we are doing that, some of us are treated differently simply because of the color of our skin. Until now, we have chosen to take the knee before matches. It is clear that we at football need another way to tackle racism. We have agreed as a squad to remain standing before kickoff on Tuesday. We hope the game can come together to see what more can be done. But now we will return to our focus to an important semi-final. In the meantime, we know that the FA are working with the UK police and appropriate bodies. Those behind this online poison must be held accountable. And Fullingham has confirmed that the FA is in contact with the social media platform where Carter was subject to racial abuse. But the FA has referred this to the police. Our priority is just and giving her all the support she needs, Willingham said. We strongly condemn those responsible for this disgusting racism. As soon as, Willingham said, quote, as soon as we were made aware of the racist abuse just received, he immediately contacted the UK police. They are in touch with the relevant social media platform, and we are working with police to ensure those responsible for this hate crime are brought to justice. And regrettably, this is not the first time this has happened to an English player, so we had measures in place to allow us to respond quickly and where possible to provide information to support any potential police action. We will continue to discuss with relevant authorities and social media companies about what can be done and should be done to prevent this abhorrent abuse, quote unquote. Carter's domestic team, Gotham FC, released their own statement saying, "We are heartbroken and outraged by the racist abuse directed at Josh Carter. Josh Carter is not only a world-class football player, he is a role model, a leader and a valued part of Gotham FC family. At Gotham, he believed in a culture of mutual respect and remained committed to building a game and community where everyone feels safe, respected, and celebrated. There's no place for racism in our sport. We stand with Jess, and we deeply appreciate the support from and the Lionesses of England's Football Association as they compete in the UEFA's Women's Championship. England defender um, Lot Woodman Moore said, quote unquote, "Another tournament goes by where we see the same disgusting racist abuse. It is unacceptable for any person to be subject to this or any kind of abuse. The issue goes far beyond sport. But what is being done about it? On the very platforms we post on, I would not continue to feed the very platform that enables abuse with no consequences." Um, so there we have it with Jess Carter and England's um, situation going on with racism in their country. So, and to be honest, I didn't know they were still doing the whole kneeling thing over there in the UK and in England. Apparently, it's still causing controversy. Um, it's only been a few years since what's been going on with, the political situation with, uh, I just say with the Black Lives Matter thing. Um, but I do agree to some extent with that. But at the same time, it is what it is. What else can you say? Let's just kind of go forward here. Let's get moving on from England. Um, Now, this is a more serious type of situation here. Um, this occurred during the FMF statement on death threats against Katia itself. Um, it's just wild that the Mexican Federal Football Federation issued a statement this afternoon condemning death threats against Mexican referee Katia itself following her participation in the Rayados versus Cincinnati match during the first round of the League's Cup. And this occurred during um, the Club World Cup. Apparently, this female referee, Katia itself, received death threats, um, and we're gonna learn why this happened. The Mexican Football Federation, through the referees commission, strongly condemns the acts of intimidation and threats directed at FIFA badge referee Katia Itzel Garcia and expresses its full support for the statements and public expressions made by her. The Federation will, let's say, what it said, quote unquote, the Federation will advise and accompany Katia in the process of filing a complaint with the relevant authorities. Likewise, the FMF is in constant communication with CONCACAF as well as with the League's organizing committee with the sole objective of guaranteeing the integrity and safety of Katia and all referees in the tournaments, they stated. The Mexican referee, reported through her social media, made various messages with death threats she received from fans of Rayados who blame her for the team's defeat against the MLS team. Um, so, I mean, you're playing a game and you want to see your teams move forward. But of course, there's some people out there who believe they take it to an extreme and start throwing death threats to people, to referees um, for messing up everything. Of course, I mean it's just a game, obviously, but for those who are into it, who are sports betting, or who are very passionate about their teams, of course they're gonna wanna to kill somebody over it. Um, it's quite wild. This is what I'm talking about here. Where in the title blog where I've talked about FIFA against unliving, the unliving going on, unliving threats, you know, which is wrong. Nobody should be threatened to be unalived um, because of because of this, because of a sport, you know. but these things happen. So Gianni Infantino, who's the president, let me just get that going here. FIFA's Infantino offers support to FIFA referees. Right. So it's she's quite a serious thing. Um, the next part, so FIFA's Infantino offers support to Garcia over the death threats he's received. Um, it's quite a serious thing that, and this is from Reuters, August 4th, 2025. Um, Continuing, says here, Garcia, FIFA President Gianni Infantino expressed support for referee Katia Itzel Garcia and the Mexican Football Federation after the official revealed she was subject to online abuse following the Leagues Cup match. Garcia, who has officiated in other men's competitions, including Liga MX, the Gold Cup, and the Olympic Games, reported receiving death threats after refereeing the Leagues Cup clash between FC at Cincinnati and Monterrey on Thursday. Um, Her decision to award a goal to the MLS side that appeared up to be offside fueled outrage among Monterrey fans after FC and Cincinnati went on to win 3-2. Um, Gianni Infantino said, quote unquote, I am dismayed and saddened by the threats against referee Katia Issel following her performance in the League Cup after first round matches between Monterrey and Cincinnati. Um, also said there is no place for football and society for abuse, discrimination, and violence of any kind. At FIFA, we stand in solidarity with the Mexican Football Federation and the CONCACAF in condemning the actions of those who make these unacceptable threats. We offer our unconditional support in supporting holding those responsible to account. The FMF said in a statement on Saturday that it will advise and accompany Garcia in the complaint process before corresponding with authorities. Um, so there we have it. There, Katia itself, Garcia, is getting support from Gianni Infantino, the Mexican Federation, Football Federation, and also I also want to just kind of point this out that the Mexican president herself, the president of Mexico, has also backed his support for Katia itself, Garcia, because she herself has received death threats because as the president of the United States, I'm sorry, the president of Mexico, I'm sorry, not the president of the United States. As the president of Mexico, she has received death threats um, for because people don't like her, they want to kill her. So, it says here, Mexican president backs threatened female football referee to receive a backing. So, and this article was written, it was written on August 8th, 2025. Katia Edsel Garcia has said she was the target of insults and death threats following Monterrey's 2-3 defeat to Cincinnati in a match, one of the leagues in the League's Cup, a North American competition last Thursday. Her decision to award a goal to the U.S. team that claimed some appeared to have scored from an offside position sparked anger among Mexican supporters. In Mexico, in a country where 10 women die every day, and where 91 women and men die every day, violence should not be glamorized. Violence should not exist anywhere. The 32-year-old referee wrote on Instagram. She said netizens had threatened to kill her and her family. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum expressed her support for Garcia on Wednesday, calling her extraordinary. She has to be 3 times better than a man to be recognized. Sheinbaum said the government would contact Garcia to see if she needs help. In a message on Instagram, FIFA president Gianni Infantino said Monday he was shocked and saddened by the threats made against referee Katia itself. The Mexican Football Federation has also condemned acts of intimidation and threats directed at the referee. In Mexico, the United States, and Canada will host the next FIFA World Cup. According to the UN, 10 sides are reported in Mexico on average each day. So on average, 10 women are killed each day in Mexico, or murdered in Mexico, um, which is quite surprising to me to hear. Um, but that's it's a pretty scary situation for her to be in because she is a female referee playing, refereeing in a men's match, in men's matches, and these things can get dangerous, and it's not safe, apparently. Um, there's just one more article that I'm going to be reading here, talking more about um, the situation involving protecting the officials, in soccer. Of course, let's read up on it here because this is from the Latin American Post here, and this article was 2 weeks ago, so I'm guessing it's around the same time as um, you know the first week of August. Death threats against Mexican referee Katia itself sparked FIFA's unified call to protect referees. Um, Just says when Mexican referee Katia itself received death threats on her life after a Leagues Cup match. What began as a fan outrage spiraled into something more sinister, and in the fallout, global football found itself confronting its tolerance and terror. When Garcia blew the final whistle in a dramatic 3-2 Leagues Cup match between FC Cincinnati and Monterrey, she expected some backlash, a controversial offside call, and no penalty decision. Referees lived with the noise, but that night something changed. Within minutes, the phones filled up with messages laced with bile and venom, the usual accusations, yes, but then threats, serious ones. One of them read, quote, "You're going to die, your family will pay," another warned. The account boy Monterrey's press. By morning, Garcia, 32, a seasoned professional, one of Mexico's few world referees at the top level, had posted screenshots to Instagram. Mexico must stop normalizing violence, she wrote. The act, uh, partly a cry for help, partly a stand of defiance, transformed her private horror into a global flashpoint. I've heard cheers for years, she stated. But this was different. This felt like someone was waiting outside my door. Her courage in going public shattered the complacency that has long shadowed match officiating. She reminded the world referees aren't symbols, they're people, and they bleed when attacked. Um, Garcia's story struck a nerve in a country where violence is as constant as the weather. 91 murders per day, 10 women are killed every day on average. In such a setting, threats often become background noise until someone refuses to stay quiet. Um, Garcia said, quote unquote, everyone expects us to take it, but how long before someone acts on it? Psychologists, labor unions, and journalists rushed to his side, recognizing the dangerous normalization of online threats, especially against women and visible, traditionally male roles. Referees in Mexico, like police officers and politicians, have become lightning rods for anger, mainly since the pandemic migrated fan surge from stadium seats to screens. And for women like Garcia, the abuse often carries an additional layer of misogyny. Rape, threats, slurs, targeted assaults, harassment for families. Luis Garcia, president of Mexico's referees union, called it a wake-up call long delayed. Others were as measured. A veteran Liga MX official stated that someone's going to get hurt one day, and everyone will act surprised. This time, Garcia's refusal to stay silent forced the conversation into national headlines. If referees can't feel safe, what does that say about everyone else? Um, the Mexican Football Federation pledged support and personal security within hours. Monterrey, the very club whose fans were implicated, issued a rare statement denouncing unacceptable behavior. Then came the international firestorm. FIFA President Gianni Infantino posted on social media, without referees, there is no football. You must protect them. CONCACAF echoed him promising to explore protective protocols and pushing every member clubs to prioritize official safety. Even rival managers, often among referees' loudest critics, stepped in to defend Garcia. One Liga MX coach faced her professionalism under impossible pressure. Another thing tip is showing us what courage looks like. It was a rare moment of consensus in a sport often splintered by ego and money. But the question is now what comes after the press release. Can the outrage build something lasting? Behind the statement lies a quieter campaign, a hunt for those who sent the threats. Cybercrime units in both Mexico and the U.S. are now tracking the IP addresses linked to the messages. Officials want less, not apologies. One investigator said, quote unquote, legal consequences are the only language some people understand. We're not just talking about bad behavior, we're talking about crimes. Garcia, meanwhile, is preparing for her next match. Friends say she's calm but changed. She now trains her voice as much as her fitness, learning how to de-escalate your tension before it spills into rage. Another mentor said, quote, she knows every step into the pitch is a symbolic now. She's not just a referee, she's the face of a bigger fight. Across youth leagues, similar stories surface. Officials quitting, games are canceled because referees walk away. One referee, Guadalajara, stated that after a death threat from a parent at a school match, he never returned. No game is worth that, he said. The ripple effects are real, but so is this message. If the abuse continues, the sport will lose people who keep it fair. Garcia excelled. Garcia's is not just about one woman, it's about the whole line that should never have been crossed, and about whether football has the will to draw it back again. Will the leagues implement cooling off periods before fans can message referees? Will clubs be fined when fans will clubs be fined for the fans cross the line? Will there be a psychological report not just for the abuse but for the enforcers of the game? Oh, excuse me. So here we have it from the Latin American Post. Sums it up pretty well. The situation involving referees, threatening referees, and that should not be a thing. People shouldn't be threatened with their life over the game. I mean, we have the same problem here in the U.S., especially with when you go to the youth games. People do get worked up. Parents get worked up over sports. They get upset. They get violent. These things happen. It's not just in Mexico. And as the other individual pointed out, he went to a youth football game and he got threatened over, because he was not a referee. And I think people get too worked up. They get really worked up, when they talk about sports. And that's just not a safe place to be. Obviously, when you're playing as a professional, sometimes you take the loss, you take the losses hard, and these things happen, of course. But for like Garcia is definitely standing up for herself, and she has every right to do that. And that's not an easy thing to do, especially when somebody has threatened you with their life. You got to stand up for yourself, and hopefully the authorities will capture those who issued those crimes. But also threatening people, you have to remember that threatening people online another form of cybercrime. Nobody should be threatening anyone over the internet, and if anyone does, it is taken it pretty seriously, especially in this day and age. Um, because I mean, even in the U.S., you see when people do those things like that, bad things do happen afterwards. People die, so it's a pretty serious thing, and people have to be in the right mind and make the right decision to say, I'm not going to do that because that could put me have me go to jail. And people do go to jail for that type of stuff. So we got to make sure, people have to make sure that they don't do that. If they know they're doing it, they what can I say? They have to meet the consequences of what they sow. Um, but there's what I was talking about with the the death threats against the threats of unaliving referees, that's not a very pleasant thing to have happen. Um, we're just switching gears here, and I'm talking about the new stars up and coming in that are up and coming in our you know that are up and coming in the future. So excuse me. All right. So we're getting closer to the end of our live stream. Well, one thing I want to let you know before I continue is that the the I'm kind of learning more about this new talent that's coming up, and there are there are a bunch of new talents that are coming up, especially in the U.S. side. We're seeing more and more homegrown talent that's just surpassing the expectations for the future. That I think we're going to see more and more new talent coming up from, especially in the women's soccer, and this is one of the examples of that. So there is a young lady who is from in New York, um, and she actually made it to the youth futsal national team. She's going to be competing in the. I'm pretty sure it's already happened, but she is competing in the youth futsal national team and playing in Argentina, and I'm pretty sure it's already happened. So it says here, um, in Delmar, New York, uh, most kids her age are still asleep. 11-year-old Savannah Martin is already training, chasing a dream that has now taken her to the national level. Savannah Martin um, is playing in the U.S. futsal national team, and she is set to represent her country this August in Buenos Aires, Argentina. She will compete against top youth players from across South America. Futsal, fast, five, five pace, five, fast pace, five-side first club soccer, played indoors with a smaller, heavier ball, and emphasizes quick thinking, footwork, and tight control. Martin was selected to compete in a series of regional and national ITF trials, including in Massachusetts and Michigan, where she stood out among thousands of players from across the country. Um, so, well, Martin has said, quote unquote, sometimes I really don't think I want to wake up, but I feel like practice is good for me and some good preparation for tryouts. The young athlete plays club soccer with the Alley Cats Soccer Club and futsal with East Sierra, both based in the capital region. She trains multiple times a week, often before school, and works with both boys and girls in her club. Um, so her father, uh, Will Martin, said Savannah's consistency and calmness under pressure has helped her excel. Um, Savannah's Martin's selection was made by a committee that included both Keith Tozer, one of the most respected figures in the sport. Keith Tozer is a Shenandoah Howard graduate, the winningest coach in U.S. indoor soccer history, and now serves as a commissioner of the Major Arena Soccer League. Um, so Keith Tozer, and these are just some of the quotes about her, said Savannah has great comfortability with the ball. She can dribble, she can shoot, she can pass, and that her physicality on the small court. She has great quickness and speed, and the speed of thought, which is as important as the speed of play. Tozer said, I knew right away she was special. Tozer added that watching a young player from his own hometown make the team was a full circle moment. Um, Martin said she's excited for the opportunity and grateful for her support system. It means a lot for me to be on that team. It makes me feel special. She said, my family keeps me motivated to help me get ready for school and remind me of what I need to do. Um, so, wow. She definitely is up and coming in the future. You know, so she's actually going to be playing for the national team. We're already in the month of August, and we're seeing such a young talent coming up. There's a lot that could be said there. I bet one day we're gonna see her play on the women's national team one day in the future. That's definitely gonna happen for sure. Another player that I'm covering for today. Another player. We have another soccer phenom coming up, homegrown talent. Um, and this article is from the MirrorUS.com. Says soccer phenom 14 making national team debut already has an NAIO deal at 14 years old. That is insane. So we have another young lady. This article is June 28, 2025. Says here, Lorendana Paletta is already 14 years old, but she's going into high school. Not having even started her first high school yet. Um, and she's going to be playing in her first tournament in the U.S. Women's National Team under 17s, which is insane. So it's kind of insane how crazy aggressive, how crazy the progression of, when they get so good. I mean, some of these young people get so good, they can get so good that it's insane how crazy the progression is, how the potential is. The future appears bright for the U.S. Women's National Team, which most recently beat Canada with 14-year-old Lorendana Paletta already causing a storm. Okay, the young midfielder recently became the first athlete to sign the name, image, and likeness deal with Italian sportswear brand Lotto ahead of joining U.S. Women's National Team under 17s at the Four Nations tournament. The soccer starlet will have the opportunity to play against Mexico, Canada, and Costa Rica. Um, Lotto's Solista and Stadio. Quote, it says here, as I continue quote unquote, she says, as I continue to develop my game, having gear I trust makes a huge difference. Lotto Solista and Stadio, please give me confidence and comfort every time I step on the field. Um, she says, quote, I'm excited to grow the brand in the U.S. alongside amazing athletes like Sophia Farida and Kellen Acosta and Ted Hargrave, Stu Holden. Off the field, I also love Lotto's lifestyle pieces, especially the Brazil select shoes and their unique stylish apparel. Everything I wear from Lotto stands out and lets me express who I am, and I'm so excited to be their partner. Jamil Spencer of Lotto's patent company, WHP Global, said, Paletta is everything Lotto stands for, fearless, authentic, and driven by passion. Um, quote unquote, she's a dynamic leader on the pitch and rewriting the story for young female athletes in this country, and we're proud to be part of that. Her energy and attitude nail our DNA, and she's already leading the next generation by example. Heading into ninth grade for Paletta, playing against others above her age bracket is nothing new to this New York FC boys under 14 star. However, with a year playing for the U.S. Women's under 16s already to her name, Paletta said, quote unquote, my dad always put me in teams with boys since I was little, even if they were 2 or 3 years older than me. She told the New York Post, going on, I had always had a passion. I wanted to be better than them. Playing with the boys makes me stronger. Um, Playing against boys is something she's had to do since day one, thanks to her brothers Gianluca, 17, and 15-year-old Leonardo, who plays for New York C's FC's under 18. Both of them said, Satan really toughened me up and just really make me want to be a better version of myself. I can be a leader around them. The letter added that her brothers motivated me, explaining they're always there for me whenever I need them, especially when it comes to soccer. They would always pull me and go out to the field. It's nice to have big brothers there to support me. Looking ahead to the tournament, rest of winning, she is initially really happy, excited, and terrified and nervous. But said that playing for her country has always been a dream, noting that she hopes this can act as a stepping stone to a much more down the line. Um, said, I really want to make the U17 World Cup roster, which is coming up soon, she said. For a long-term goal is definitely the Senior World Cup, winning gold. But the 2027 World Cup in Brazil could come too soon for Paletta to push for a roster spot under head coach Emma Hayes. The tournament is set to head to the U.S. and Mexico in 2031. So, wow. we have another young star coming up in the mix. Um, yeah, I definitely see. I'm telling you guys, the United States definitely has the potential. It's going to be locked and loaded for the next few years. It's going to be pretty good. Yeah, pretty solid. Going to be looking pretty solid for the next few years for the United States women's national team going forward. Um, so that's quite amazing. I mean, two young ladies right there who are on the column and they're just doing their thing out there. Um, so now we're just kind of going back to what I was talking about earlier with the women's national team. Um, I was talking about earlier about the women's national team's next matches and also about the roster spot. This is what we're going to be going into for the last part of this series. Um, after this we will be ending that for today. But here we're talking about the future matches that are going to be upcoming for the U.S. Women's National Team. Um, and this article is on July 28th. So it says here, the United States Women's National Team have figured out their October international window. They just finished the friendlies. They did 3 friendlies matches, and now they're going to focus on the actual matches. Says here, today, U.S. Soccer announced that the U.S. Women's National Team will face Portugal in 2 friendlies in October, with taking first place on with first taking place on October 23rd at Safari Park in Chester, Pennsylvania, and the second coming on October 26th at Rensler Field in East Hartford. The team will play a third friendly at CPKC Stadium in Kansas City on October 29th against a team that is yet to be determined. The match against Portugal in Chester is the first U.S. Women's National Team match in Philadelphia area in 3 years. There, Alex Morgan will be honored before the match for her legendary career. Alex Morgan retired from professional soccer last fall. The match in East Hartford will serve as a tribute match for legendary goalkeeper Alessa Naher, the Connecticut native who retired from international soccer in December. The match in Connecticut will also be a doubleheader with the deaf men's national team playing in a friendly before the U.S. women's national team takes the field. Portugal, so Emma Hayes said, quote unquote, Portugal is a growing team that will be highly motivated for these matches, but as always, these 3 games are more important, more opportunities to work on us. Head coach Emma Hayes said in a statement, and also said, I'm really impressed with the progress we've made since the Olympics, and I want to give a lot of credit to the players for embracing our culture and ideas. But our staff and the players know we still have much work to do before the World Cup qualifying next year. Um, with the while the match in Kansas City is against the unknown opponent, it will serve as the first part match at CPKC Stadium, the Kansas City current stadium that opened in March 2024. The 11,500-seat stadium is the first stadium in America to be built primarily for a national women's soccer league team. It's expected that the opponent will be named shortly for that match. Because FIFA has eliminated the September international window from the women's calendar, the October window allows for teams to play up to 3 matches. The U.S. women's national team, who are still ranked #1 in the FIFA standings, will hopefully have the most of its players back healthy on the field at that point as the National Women's Soccer League approaches the playoffs. Um, so there we got it for that right there. So they're going to be playing Portugal twice, and we don't know who the last team will be, but we'll find out in the future who that will be. So going forward, now we're going to be talking about the roster changes and who's going to be on the roster for this thing. So Emma Hayes has finally determined who is going to be on the roster. Um, the U.S. Women's National Debutant tier rankings. Emma Hayes has handed out her first 24 caps as coach, who is in line for more. Emma Hayes has given opportunities to 24 U.S. women's national team debutants, and while many have confessed, some more have more work to do. Since leading the U.S. women's national team to Olympic gold in 2024 Paris Olympics, manager Emma Hayes wasted no time reshaping the squad's future. From the Olympics on, she handed out the first caps to 24 different players, an extraordinary number in such a short span, and a clear signal of her intent to thoroughly evaluate the player pool ahead of the 2027 World Cup. The level of experimentation is rare for a U.S. women's national head coach, but Emma Hayes um, emphasized the need to build a sustainable roster over time, and has wanted to look at the entire playing pool from youth to seniors to take over the team last summer. Several debutants impressed and staked claims for long-term roles, while others have faced setbacks due to injuries or inconsistency as the team looks towards October fixtures. The selections made will likely offer the clearest picture yet of Hayes' core roster and tactical vision for 2027. Um, so here are the roster, the ones who have the caps. Fallon Tellis Joyce. Based on recent performances, Tellis Joyce may be the first number one keeper at the moment. The pathway to starting in the net for the US women's national team has been far from linear. The goalkeeper began playing professionally for Reams of France after not getting drafted into the National Women's Soccer League. Following her collegiate career at the University of Miami, she eventually found her way back to the National Women's Soccer League, playing for OL Reign. In 2023, she signed with Manchester United in the Women's Soccer League, and then 2 years later was called into the national team camp and made her debut that April. Fellas Joyce earned a clean sheet against Brazil, one of 10 U.S. women's national keepers to earn a shutout in their first cap. She also recorded 6 saves. Michelle Cooper, her first performance under Hayes, Cooper made an immediate impact. After earning her first senior national team call-up during the 2025 she believed she debuted off the bench against Colombia, and her second cap against Australia scored a game-winning goal. From her goal-scoring versatility to her strength, size, and service, Cooper is on a clear trajectory towards contention for the 2027 World Cup squad. Giselle Thompson, at just 19 years old, Giselle Thompson emerged as a standout young defender for Angel FC and the U.S. Women's National Team. After earning 2 senior caps during the 2025 FIFA League Cups, debuting off the bench against Colombia and earning her first start against Australia, she impressed Hayes. Her club season likewise featured meaningful moments, including scoring her first professional goal, assisted by sister Alyssa, forming the sister-to-sister goal in National League soccer history. Thompson has the ability to play up, which makes her versatile. I've covered her. She's part of the typical espresso right there. Um, Emerging as a dynamic defensive presence, Patterson has quickly made her mark on the women's national soccer team after earning her first senior cap in April, briefly subbing in on the second half of the 2-8 friendly win over Brazil. She earned her first start days later. In 6 appearances, she not only solidified her defensive stripes, but also scored her first senior international goal, heading one home in a 4-0 victory over Ireland. Patterson's rapid ascent from the futures camp to 10 league to senior team contributor reflects both her collegiate pedigree and a breakout rookie season with Houston Dash. Ali Sentmore, after earning her first cap in November 2024 at Wembley Stadium, Sentmore started in the 2025 FIFA League Cup, where the U.S. Youth Soccer Player of the Year drilled a stunning long-range strike for her first international goal. She added a second in the final match against Japan, becoming one of 6 players to score goal contributions in all 3 games of the FIFA League Cup. A blend of calm finishing, intelligent movement, and natural goal scoring instincts mark her not as just a rising star, but a potential no-brainer for the team's future plans. Player Hudson just 19, Claire Hudson has become a cornerstone of the U.S. Women's National Team midfield and some Party's right-hand woman by showcasing defensive maturity and tactical insight well beyond her years. Claire Hudson, oh man, we're just getting into Claire Hudson now. Who, by the way, I have covered Claire Hudson before as um, I've covered her as she's definitely one of the more interesting ones, and she's climbed her way to the top, and now she's playing for the U.S. Claire Hudson, just 19, is a cornerstone. Um, Claire Hudson earned her first senior cap in the FIFA Leagues Cup against Australia, starting and helping spring National Women's Soccer League Kansas City teammate Michelle Cooper's goal. Fellow midfielder Roosevelt told in City as she plays well beyond her years. I'm just going to kind of skip through some of the others that we have here. We have, oh man, there we go. Lily Johannes. Um, Lily Johannes is 17 years old. That is amazing. You know, you'll probably think another teenager not going to score. Well, the 17-year-old has made a strikingly poised entry into the U.S. Women's National Soccer Team midfield, blending technical finesse with exceptional vision. Hayes handed her her first senior call-up in March 2024, and Johannes didn't waste time, scoring within her first 10 minutes on the midfield in a friendly against South Korea. Become the third youngest goal scorer in U.S. Women's National Team history. Um, Next up, we have Yasmin Ryan, um, who making her second season debut for the U.S. Women's National Team in October 2024. Ryan immediately brought energy and pace from the wing. Um, the Houston dash forward has accumulated 12 caps and found the back of the net twice, added her 2 assists. Um, Her versatility is capable of playing central field, midfield, attacking midfield, and anywhere on the wing is a strength. Um, Still, we've only seen glimpses of what she can bring. Ryan needs help getting more minutes. Um, Next up, we have Lily Beal, who made her senior debut in June. Lily Beal lined up on the left back in a friendly against Ireland. Immediately her left mark providing an assist for Alyssa Thompson's goal in the 4-0 victory. So, Lily Beal, really, another one with Izzy Rodriguez earning her first senior cap during the U.S. Women's National Team 4-0 friendly win over Ireland in June. Rodriguez started at a left back and scored a first half goal. It is special because she is the first U.S. Women's National Team player since Emma Sears to score in her first start. Even with that goal, a review and a strong all-around performance, Rodriguez will still need to get more consistent minutes. Next, we have Kelly Abello making her U.S. Women's National Team in June. Abello started at left back in the 4-0 friendly win over Jamaica. The Orlando Pride defender has been instrumental in the club's success and given her impact on the U.S. Women's National Team. She's another talent outside to back that. Um, Continuing here, we have the last person, Emma Sears. She made a remarkable debut for the U.S. Women's National Team last October. Emma Sears came on as a 56-minute substitute, assisted Lynn Biondello's equalizer, and then scored in stoppage time. That made her the first U.S. Women's National debutant since Christian Press in 2013 to record both a goal and an assist in her first cap. Sears has now made 8 um, boy. Oh boy. Annoying ads. Oh my gosh. I don't like these ads, man. It's just getting in the way. Oh my gosh. They're getting in the way. Goodness. I can get rid of these ads. As I was saying, so we have Emma Sears. There we go. The ad is gone. Emma Sears now has made 8 appearances for the U.S. Women's National Team. It has a tough task to compete against other fast technical wingers. Um, so there we have it for that. For this team. So we already have the future future things going on, future matches occurring. And it looks like we're starting to have like a window open up for the roster spots opening up. So things are going to get interesting for the U.S. Women's National Team, and the Women's World Cup is only 1 year away. So there's still a lot of planning and preparation going on for the team. Um, so continuing this, it says U.S. women's soccer finalizes dates and start times for the 2025 season. Of course, this was about a week ago, 2 weeks ago. So continuing, this is kind of just going back to what we showed about the future of the matches in October. It says here, um, with just 18 days remaining until the Harvard Women's Soccer 2025 season officially beginning, the team has finalized a match of, finalized a majority of the start of matches. Oh, wait a minute. So this is not, I'm sorry. But I suggest we focus on the women's national team. Um, so, so guys, we have come to the close. Um, we've been on this live stream for a couple of hours now. It's been a while, and I've been talking for a while. Um, I don't want to keep you guys. I don't have anything else to say, but we've covered a lot. We've covered a lot. The U.S. Women's National Team, there's some drama going down, and there's a little bit of a life insight into what's been going on with Trinity Rodman, and of course, he's not happy with being associated with Dennis Rodman. And that wild situation. If Kim Jong Un ever visits the United States, that would be insane. I don't think that's ever going to happen in my lifetime, but it would be crazy to see that happen. I mean, that just really threw me off. That was wild. But I think that's probably we're going to probably talk about that in another live stream. Um, and the other situation occurring with the England's soccer club, and also the situation ongoing with online abuse regarding racism, with you know racism happening with the English player who suffered racism, but also in a more serious note, referees being threatened with cyber crimes or death threats. You know, obviously that's something that has to be addressed. Um, so there's a lot that I've covered for today, and there's a lot that I could cover more, but life has to go on, and I'm gonna have to end this live stream for today. I'll see you guys in the next live stream um, whenever that happens. I'm actually going to be away for a couple of days, and so when I get back, we'll do some more live streams, not on soccer, but on some other things that are occurring in the world, um, on some other topics. But that's it for today, guys. This has been a very, very extensive live stream for this morning. So it's a beautiful day outside. Get outside, enjoy the nice weather, get some exercise, enjoy yourselves. Um, I'll see you guys in the next one, and enjoy the rest of the day. And I'll see you.